Film Fanatics. From the silver screen to your earphones with Alan Azulay and Gal Balaban.
Welcome back to Film Fanatics, where we talk about the movies that have us obsessed, excited, and inspired. And I'm Gal.
And I'm Alan, and today we're talking about 2021 Sexiest Man Alive. I think he still might be the sexiest man alive. An actor and comedian behind such characters as Brian Fantana, Gary Guberson, and Scott Lang.
That's right. Today's actor's showreel is Mr. Paul Stephen Rudd. Paul Rudd, he's an actor, comedian, writer, and producer. And to join us, unfortunately, Alan's not with me here today in the studio, but he's with me in spirit and on the stream. And joining us also is Kristin from Miss Filmingo.
Hi, how are you guys? Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. This is great to have you.
I'm excellent. I'm ready to talk some Paul Rudd. He is the sexiest man alive. I mean, just look at that beautiful man. He ages like fine wine, let's face it. And I don't know what he's been drinking in Hollywood, but it's that special water that they have, like, just fine.
I almost put in the intro, the only human to access the fountain of youth.
He is. I mean, look at him. He looks amazing. Like, if you look at the difference between how he looks like in Clueless and how he is now with Scott Lang, oh my gosh.
Non-existent difference.
I know. It's like he was blessed with good genes.
I mean, come on. How's that fair?
He was blessed.
I'm sorry that he's blocking you, Kristin, but
no, let him block me. He deserves all the sexiness and praise. I mean, just look at that beautiful man.
Amazing.
May I take the helm? Okay. So Paul Rudd has had a very long career, and today we're spotlighting a very important movie in his career called Anchorman: The Legend of Ron Burgundy, and one of my personal favorite comedies. And the movie follows Ron Burgundy and his team at what's the name of the news channel they're on? Channel 4 News, and their shenanigans. Let's just leave it at that because the movie gets wild.
Definitely.
Kristin, dude, you've watched this one, right?
Oh, I love Anchorman. I grew up watching Anchorman a lot. My sister and I used to watch this movie all the time when it came on we have a channel in the US called TBS, and they used to air a lot of comedies that were popular in the early 2000s, and since Anchorman was one of them, we used to really watch it religiously. And we would quote mostly lines of Steve Carell, even though Paul Rudd is just as funny as Steve Carell in that film, and Will Ferrell. It's just a fun comedy that everybody's just so ridiculous, and everybody's there to have a good time and just poke fun of the news culture in the 60s and 50s. It's great. It's funny. It's wildly so entertaining. And I love the mustache that everybody rocks in this film. Everybody at least has a unique mustache that's very thick.
Everyone looks like they just came out of their own solo movie.
Yeah, honestly.
The funny thing is, I haven't watched this movie in so long, and I rewatched it this week with I did a Paul Rudd marathon. So I watched 10 Paul Rudd movies this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What is your go-to Paul Rudd movie? I want to ask you both.
This one.
This one?
Yeah, I hadn't seen it in a while. I watched it for the first time when it the second one was coming out, because I hadn't really heard about it until they were making a second one. I was young. Okay. And then I rewatched it a couple months ago, and it's still funny as hell, but there's actually something weird to it because it's actually a really kind of accurate portrayal of how hard it was for women in the workplace back then. Everyone in this movie is objectifying women, at least in the beginning. And it's just Christina Applegate has to fight all of it, and they make all these horrible jokes, as funny as it is. And Brian Fantana, who's played by Paul Rudd, is so funny because one of his trademarks is he has a cologne, and he has that famous scene where it's 60% of the time it works every time. The Sex Panther, that's what it's called. And I think in the fight, I don't remember, I think this was in the second movie where he releases the Sex Panther cologne and like defeats some people with it. It's such a funny moment. I feel like he's like the typical player in this because like he cares about like pulling girls, but he's so good in it.
Sorry, I'm just going to bring up another topic, but I was actually once in the same room as Paul Rudd. Like I was working an event as Paul Rudd. So I'm trying to find the picture. So if you excuse me, I'm going to still be listening.
We have to see this.
So I'm going to find the picture. I can do a little story time. But Alan, what's your go-to Paul Rudd movie?
I think it's the one we're going to talk about later on, 4-Year-Old Virgin. Ooh. But yeah, we'll talk about it more once we get to it. But for now, I want to propose a question.
Okay.
Is Champ Kynes, or I guess David Cockner, is he a flaming homosexual from the 70s that just didn't come out?
I mean, that's a really good question I never thought about before.
He would be the one who's like an extreme homophobe to compensate for it. He's all like, sports in America.
Steve Carell is so funny in this movie. Like, his jokes are like, they shouldn't work, but because it's Steve Carell and he's so like good in the movie, you like just buy him as like this lovable, I guess the movie uses this word, so I will use it, this lovable retard.
He is a lovable, that word, I don't know how I'm gonna say it on.
I'm about to get canceled live on air.
I want to shout out a scene that I love in this movie that I think, well, a couple of scenes actually, because I really, really love this movie, is when he like goes up on stage during his date with Veronica and he's playing the flute. And there's this one shot joke where he like takes the flute and goes under the bathroom stall and plays it for someone. That always made me laugh when I was younger. And then the other scene is where Jack Black cameos as the motorcyclist who he throws the burrito at him and he's like, you destroyed my motorcycle, so I'm gonna take something you love, and he like kicks Baxter, who then like fake dies.
So angry at that guy.
Yeah, oh my god, I hate whenever they mess with dogs in movies, but Jack Black was ruthless. And then obviously I love the scene, they have this in both movies, but it's the whole news channel battle, I guess.
That scene is great.
It's so fun, but I think especially in the first movie.
Battle.
The way they over exaggerate it, like they keep bringing more news teams, and it's like Ben Stiller playing a Mexican news channel, which I guess wouldn't have aged well.
He is on the first one as well.
He's in the battle.
Yeah, I thought he was in the battle in the second one. It's too many Paul Rudd movies. My head is full of Paul Rudd.
And like Tina Fey.
We want to get into Anchorman too.
I mean, it's not as good, but I still enjoy it.
No, but let's give our ratings. Kristin, usually here on the show, after we're done talking about a movie, we give it like a rating from 1 to 10 until we come up with a better system than that, because we're very uncreative people. So yeah, do you want to start us off? What's your rating for Anchorman?
For my rating for Anchorman, I'm going to give it, because of like nostalgia purposes, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10, because I love that movie. Love it.
Mr. Film Toppings.
So funny.
Ooh, I'm stuck between 8 and 8.5. 8.5 would also be for nostalgia reasons. Yeah, it's a movie that masters physical comedy and not awkward humor, like in your face humor. And it does it all while being entertaining as hell and just keeping you like belly laughing because of how idiotic Ron Burgundy is and how great the team is. It's one of Will Ferrell's best characters. And when we talk about like Adam McKay as a great like wide appeal comedy filmmaker in his earlier times, Anchorman is one of those movies that just hits that home.
Yeah, I want to mention as well that especially for a comedy that again takes place in the 70s, that's very uncommon. Like usually comedies are very like in today's day, I guess. And so that was a fun thing for them to do, and also like you can really see how good of a director Adam McKay is, even in a movie like Anchorman. Just like the technical stuff of like movie making, like framing and lighting and like cinematography and all that, it's all like slightly better than most comedies, if not a lot better than most comedies.
This wasn't his first movie, was it?
I don't think so.
No.
No, it wasn't. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of his earlier movies, and it's good to see like a comedy.
Oh, because I'm actually curious. Like, I don't remember what was his first movie. Oh my god, it was.
It was.
It was?
Yeah.
I would have
I'm reading
never
this now.
expected that.
It was
See,
his
that's how good
feature
it
film
is.
debut. If this is what a directorial debut looks like, I understand why he was set for life after this. Let's talk a bit about Anchorman 2. The legend continues. Came out a whole 9 years after the first movie, and Ron has to reunite his gang to do some more news after they're kind of washed up, and Veronica, his wife, who he splits up with because she, quote, steals his job, and they go on some insane adventures. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it somehow.
I want to
because-
shout out one moment of this movie first because I laughed my ass off. I did not know that Steve Carell was in the second one. I watched the second one for the first time this week. And
Really?
yeah, the scene where they're in like Brick's funeral, it's one of the funniest shit I ever seen. Like they're all talking, they're all like super sad or like, and then Brick comes up and he starts talking about Brick. And then they're like, "Oh my god!" It's like they're like just their reactions, and Brick like goes on for so long, just like saying how hard it is that Brick is gone.
And it's like, Brick, you're not dead. Wait, I'm alive? Yes, you're alive.
Yeah.
I'm not dead? Yes, I'm alive.
Like Steve Carell sells that so well, so well.
That's a really great scene.
It's
Honestly.
my favorite scene in the movie, I think.
Yeah, if we're talking about when they're assembling the crew again, there's like, we're talking about Adam McKay as the director. There's a choice here that I love where they go back. First of all, you have like Paul Rudd taking photos. This is the first time you see him in the movie. And he's like, yeah, that's a great shot. And you're just stuck on him for a while. And then it cuts to a reveal that he's taking photos of cats this whole time. And like he's making like borderline sexual sounds about the photo. And he's like, I think we got it. And everyone's clapping at like this tiny set of cats. And then they come to him and they're like, we need you back for the news. And he's like, I got a good thing going. I don't know, man. And then they're like, there's a strip club next to the studio. And then, no, he's like, there's a nude strip club in the studio. And you don't even see a reaction. You don't even hear you just have Will Ferrell saying there's a strip club, and then it cuts to them in the van on their way to New York. And that
Scene is also incredible.
Do you know
Crash
what? One
the
of my
van.
favorite things Paul Rudd has done over the course of his career. So Paul Rudd used to go on Conan O'Brien all the time. I don't know if you guys know this. And whenever he would use to introduce a clip, he would set up the clip a little bit, and then he would play Mac and Me. A clip of Mac and Me, you know that movie with the alien that's really, really bad?
So
It's one of the
Never
worst
heard of it.
movies of all time. It's basically a cheap version of E.T. And the
Oh,
clip that
great.
he used to play on Conan O'Brien all the time was this. You need to look this up. It was the kid in the wheelchair, and he was going off a cliff, and he lands I kid you not, he lands in the water. And then you just see this picture of the little alien and his eyes lit up. And you need to find this clip. And this was an ongoing Conan O'Brien thing and Paul Rudd thing because the two of them are friends. And like I didn't know about this until Paul Rudd was promoting Anchorman, that this clip came up, and I was like, wait, this is not Anchorman 2. This is Mac.
Oh
and
my
then you go
god.
back, and he's done it every time.
Yeah, it's a bad movie. Movies from the 80s. You two need to check it out.
Oh my
Mac and
god,
Me.
that sounds
Great.
insane.
It's
But like
stupid.
speaking of Mr. Brian Fantana himself, he goes hard in this movie. He's so
He goes
funny.
hard.
Like Paul Rudd is, honest to God, one of the funniest people on earth. His delivery is so like deadpan, like you believe he's that much of an asshole, but like you can't stop laughing. It's so good.
But he says everything with a smile, and it's like idiot smile.
Who do you think is worse to have as a coworker, Ron Burgundy or Brian from Paul Rudd's
Ron
character?
Burgundy.
Like I feel like I don't know who would be worse, like the sexual assault claims that Paul would make or the racism that Ron Burgundy would.
Oh no, you have that scene where Megan Good comes in and she's like, I'm the new boss, Linda Jackson. And he goes, oh, black, like 100 times. You play into this joke for so long.
Like, who would be worse to have in the workplace now?
And then she dates him? What the fuck?
She dates
It's
him.
like, you're a freaking idiot. And I find it kind of hot. And then she takes him home and he says racist shit to the whole family.
It is incredible. It's like, remember what you people did with that recent film? Like, I feel like that scene, what they did, and, a 2013 movie did better than what we got today,
Better than the dinner scene in You People.
I'm not subjecting myself to that movie.
No, it's not very good. I don't finish movies often. Like, I will watch a movie to the end, and I couldn't even finish You People. I was just like, I just can't do this anymore.
I actually enjoyed it, but I get that it was a little wasn't original, but I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about all the celebrities in this movie. First of all, James Marsden as Jack Lime, who's the
Jack
popular
LaMay.
Jack LaMay, Jack Lame, LaMay, yeah. So he has to change his name to Jack Lame because their ratings go up. And I didn't catch this on my first viewing, but this movie kind of does a fictionalized take of how the news became basically clickbait and a show of its own. It kind of credits Ron Burgundy for turning the news into a shit show, and I love it, even though it's so ridiculous. And then everyone's like, "This goes against our values" or whatever. And then eventually, they stop Christina Applegate's interview. Because there's a car chase that Ron Burgundy just spontaneously covers, and everyone says this genius thing, and even the freedom fighter that she's interviewing or whatever he was is I want to watch the car chase. I don't want to get interviewed anymore.
No, that was a really good take. But Adam McKay has fantastic takes when it comes to making politics seem really fun. So I was not surprised by that. But yeah, that was a good moment. And Ron Burgundy going blind was also fantastic.
The whole plot detour about him going blind and befriending a shark. I had no memory of that from the first time I watched this movie from back around when it came out.
Shark, honestly.
The movie starts with that shark.
And he even ends with the shark at the end too.
It's Dobie. And he learns how to become a good person from this shark that he met when he was blind, and he sings a song because Will Ferrell's actually a really talented singer. If you've seen Eurovision and Spirited, he's actually really good. But it's just such a random song.
If you watch the very end of the film, Will Ferrell does commentary for "Ride Like the Wind." Do you know that song? It's at the very end of the film. So it's him and Robin Thicke, and they team up for this song. You need to listen to it, and they just sing together on it. And there's the audio that Will Ferrell provides is absolutely hilarious. I would have wanted to play it here so I can just capture your reactions, but I don't want to get you guys copy strike.
Did you guys know? I think Alan knows this because we had a class. Ron Burgundy has a podcast. Will Ferrell playing Ron Burgundy for a whole fight. Again, I started listening to a little bit of it. It's brilliant. And he has a co-host who's just also an actress who's reacting to all the ridiculous stuff he says. Listen to it. I think it's just called the Ron Burgundy podcast.
Ron Burgundy
so much
podcast.
Fun.
It was on iHeartRadio. Yep. I'm aware of it. Love Ron Burgundy.
It's kind of like how Sacha Baron Cohen went on, I think, Conan, in character as General Aladdin from The Dictator. He just does stuff as Ron Burgundy, and it's so perfect.
It's his best role, in my opinion.
Ooh, it could be. All the movies he does with Adam McKay, I love The Other Guys. I really like Talladega Nights.
I love The Other Guys. I would love a sequel to The Other Guys.
Same. I've seen it so many times. Have you seen it, Alan?
I have, but a long time
you gotta let me fly.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg's whole line.
I remember most of it.
Also, back to Anchorman 2. What do you guys think of the battle scene? Because Again, it's so exaggerated, but I love it.
We
I
got
love it too.
Liam Neeson in that battle
Will
that
Smith.
shows up, which
Will
I
Smith
loved,
is-
and Tina
yeah.
Fey and Amy Poehler. And then I think
And you have Jim
doesn't
Carrey.
like Will Smith show up for the battle? I don't
Yeah.
remember.
It's the ESPN host. And then
Yeah,
Jim
because I
Carrey
remember
and
like Liam Neeson in the battle and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler because those two, they were like the pop culture news anchors because they got like a wide variety because Liam Neeson was like a history channel.
Here's a History Channel, and they have the Minotaur, and then the ghost of Stonewall Jackson, played by John C. Reilly, who's in almost all the other Adam McKay, Will Ferrell comedies. And then Jim Carrey and Marion Cotillard as the Canadian news. And they're like, we're going to kick her butts. Sorry, we're overly polite.
Oh my god. Yeah, like that
and
scene,
Kanye.
it could have gone so wrong with them like turning that scene from the first movie to an 11. But I think it works, and it was one of the funniest shit. Yeah, it was
Then
so
you
funny.
randomly have Kirsten Dunst standing on the side as an angel. And she's like, oh, and wait. Do you guys remember Drake was in the first scene of this movie?
In the beginning of the film.
And Harrison Ford also.
Yeah, Harrison Ford is also in the movie. I remember him in the movie, but I remember Drake.
But Harrison Ford shows up
at
for
the time
fight
because
as
you know
well.
Drake was a hot and it still is a hot item, and I just remember him being like advertised the most out of everybody in the film, and it's like his cameo was so brief.
Oh my
I don't
god.
even think he's even in the battle. I don't remember if he is.
I think he had 2 scenes. But I love Greg Kinnear's running joke. The running joke with his character was so good. He's Christina Applegate's Veronica's new husband. And the whole movie, Ron's
So
like, you're a
good.
psychic, right? And at the end of the movie, he reveals that he was psychic the whole time. And I didn't expect it because he's like, I'm a psychologist. And he's like, can you read my mind? No, I'm a psychologist, not a psychic. And then at the end, he like mind controls something during the battle. And he's like, go see your son.
It's so funny. That's such a good payoff that nobody else would pull off.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought in like aliens if they did Anchorman 3. I would love an Anchorman 3, personally. I don't know if it would age well today.
I don't think it would age well today, but I would love to see it.
I would love to see it too.
I would
Okay,
love
guys.
to see like Ron Burgundy, like everybody else around him age, but he still looks the same.
That would be great.
He like gets out of the wheelchair in the retirement home. I have to report the news.
But no, it's not even like broadcast news, it's podcasting. So literally the film show that he has on iHeartRadio, that's what we have here. I don't know what it's on in, you know, on your guys' end, but yeah, it would be
Oh my god. Okay, guys, are you ready to give scores to Anchorman 2?
yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll start this time. I'll give it a 7.75 out of 10. Just a little bit below the first one.
I'm going to actually ditto your rating. It's a little dumb, but as dumb as it gets, the dumber it gets, the better it gets also. I'm giving it the same rating.
I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. It's still not as good as the original, but I still love the dumminess to it.
So we're pretty much in the same like wavelength with these movies apparently. Let's see if that changes. I hope it doesn't because I love this movie to death. The next movie we're talking about is what I consider to be my favorite movie when I was 14. I consider this movie to be a masterpiece. There was nothing wrong with it. It's the 40-year-old virgin starring Steve Carell.
Oh, Lordy.
Do you know I didn't watch this movie until I was 19?
I think I watched this movie for the first time when I was like 10 or 11.
I knew so much about this film, but my parents like banned me, and like I didn't see this movie till later on in life.
I watched it literally 2 years ago for the first time. I don't know why I never got to it, but it was on Netflix, and I was like, this sounds like the perfect movie for just like a funny movie. And it was actually really good. Like, I liked the structure. As all Judd Apatow movies, it's a little bit long, maybe more than it should be, but all the jokes are really out there and funny. And even though it's kind of like, you know, he's kind of like depending his whole happiness on if he can bang a girl or not. Like they lean into the silliness so much, and Steve Carell and Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen, they do it so well. And there's that one scene that everyone it's like been memed to death, where he goes to the hair removal and he goes, "Oh, Kelly Clarkson."
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh, I will fucking kill you. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just the pain." Like like how angry he gets at the woman who's removing the hair. Like he's like, "I'm gonna kill you." He like, threatens her or something. That had me dying.
Yeah, that scene was comedy gold, and it's still comedy gold, and
It's one of the
amazing.
highlights of that film, honestly, and it's one of the best comedy moments.
Another scene that was way too good that I forgot about was when Paul Rudd's character goes to his house with a box of porn.
I wanted to talk about this scene. Yeah, I love that scene.
Just leaves it there, and Steve Carell doesn't want it. He doesn't want it anywhere near his house. And then Paul Rudd starts screaming so all his neighbors hear it. "I don't want your porn. You keep your porn." Like it's
Of all the moments Paul Rudd has in this scene, that's the most memorable, where he's like, "I don't want your porn, Andy," or whatever.
yeah, it's oh my god, so funny. And also Jane, I want to shout out Jane Lynch as the store manager.
Yes. She's great in this film too. I think she like outperforms Paul Rudd. No offense, in my opinion, in this movie.
She's really good at this movie.
I mean, I get that.
She like the moment where she like kind of like verbally assaults
Yes.
Steve Carell.
She
like-
goes like early on Sue Sylvester from Glee.
Exactly.
a teaser.
Exactly.
That's her
audition for Glee.
Audition for Sue Sylvester.
That was her
right
audition for Glee.
there. Like, and afterwards when she's like sexually assaulting him by the end of the movie, and you're like, "What are you doing? Stop, please."
That woman can't make up her mind in this movie what she wants with Steve Carell.
Oh god, Catherine Keener as Trish. She like again, maybe this is the 14-year-old Alan speaking and not actually me, because I had a huge crush on her when I was 14
Really?
because of this movie. But she's just like so like perfect. I have no other words for her in this movie.
She has a really recognizable voice. I've realized that. Something about her voice is really entertaining. And I love after she like discovers the porn, she's like, "Oh, you're just a virgin? I thought you were gonna murder me."
So good. Yeah, like she's really funny too in this movie.
And her daughter was Kat Dennings, no?
As with Kat Dennings, who plays her daughter, are like next level funny mother-daughter.
I forgot
Like,
Kat Dennings was in this movie.
Yeah, it was a nice surprise this week. to
was
see her.
entertaining.
Well, I'm not a huge fan of Kat Dennings, so say what you want.
I mean, she's neither here or there for me, but like, I was like, "Oh, that's Kat Dennings."
Yeah.
I was like, I know I sometimes felt her because sometimes I have ridiculous arguments with my parents. But like, I love them anyway.
Have an argument about losing your virginity with your mom. Oh,
No, just like the ridiculous frustration. No. That's not what I meant. I just meant like the ridiculous frustration at your parents sometimes. Oh my God. But like Kevin Hart was in this movie, which was a huge surprise to me. And Jonah Hill,
Which I like.
like
but
had
his
to
scene
look
is
up
so
to
funny.
remember.
He wants to buy the boots, and she's like, "I don't sell them here." And he's like, "Listen, I just want to buy the boots, go home, and wear them." And it's like such good delivery, and that's like his only line in the movie.
I just remember the scene where Steve Carell was like taking, I think, Kat Dennings to the to like the sex education like support group or whatever, and it's like, you have questions about your kids with sex, and he's just like clueless as Steve Carell's characters always are. This is one of his best roles. I gotta be honest. Like, I've never like we're talking about Paul Rudd in this episode, but when talking about Steve Carell, I've never seen Foxcatcher yet. But these two movies, like that was the one he was nominated for. These movies, and then Beautiful Boy is more of a dramatic one. But if we're talking about comedy, these were his two like best comedic stuff, was Brick and 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Also not the topic, but he's fantastic in The Morning Show.
Right, I haven't seen that yet.
But yeah, Paul Rudd. Let's go back to Paul Rudd, because this is still technically his episode. Paul Rudd is funnier in this movie, I think, even than in the previous ones. 'Cause the previous ones, in Anchorman especially, like in Anchorman 1 and 2, like he's very much like a crazy character, like something like more like out of reality kind of. And this is something like that hinges completely on his performance. He has a moment when he's like he's talking about like being like celibate, that it's honest to God one of the funniest moments in the movie, and he's just like, yeah, I've been celibate for like 2 years. It's like a choice that I made, and like you can see it in his eyes that it's definitely not a choice that he made, and like he's still like reeling over Mindy Kaling, and like yeah, he's very funny in this movie.
And one genius thing, I guess, spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, he has sex. And he's
surprise.
no longer a virgin. And then Catherine Keener turns to him and she's like, how did it feel? And he breaks into song and they recreate the Age of Aquarius from the movie Hair, Milos Forman movie from the 70s, which I saw after I watched this movie, but like my dad walked by me and he explained the joke to me while I was watching this movie. And when they get to like the harmony and understanding part, Seth Rogen's like doing this shirtless dance that had me cracking up. Like, you want to rewatch that scene just for Seth Rogen? It's like deep singing and his like dramatic dance to explain how wonderful it was to lose his virginity.
Yeah, that was really funny. I will point out one thing that did not age well at all. Like at all. I think Elizabeth Banks' character in this movie is like horribly mistreated.
Yeah.
She's like
Like
cliche hot
Definitely.
girl.
like it's such a way that the 2000s would put like a girl in a movie and be like, oh, you are the whore, and that's all of your character development, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so bad. Like in the end,
That was
there's a
the notes
joke.
that I gave her.
It was, I think it was
When-
just like the time, like you said, it was the time
Yeah.
period for what it was. But she is treated horribly. But
Yeah, and it sucks because we know how talented she is. So like when I see
She
her, like
rented Cocaine Bear when she's making big moves.
exactly, but like when like in the last couple of scenes in the movie, she's on a tub, and it's so cringeworthy. Like it's that bad. Like how they're sexualizing her, and you're just like, no, please
Mhm.
stop. You're such a good movie. Stop doing this to me. Yeah, that's the only thing that I don't like about this movie. Everything else is pretty much perfect.
Froze again. Am I there?
Go again, go.
I feel like there's something to the whole thing where it's like the whole gang is like getting together to help him score girls. This slightly doesn't age well. For a movie, it's hilarious and works really well.
For sure. Yeah, but that's not like cringy. Like that you can more likely understand like about the times. Or like the Elizabeth Banks stuff like really goes like way too far. Okay, are you guys ready for some grades? Okay, so I want to go last for this one because I'm feeling mine.
yeah, because it's your favorite. Yeah.
You go left to right.
Yeah.
All right, left to right. I'm giving it an 8.
I'm also gonna give it an 8.
Okay,
Listen,
I'm
I
gonna
like
go an 8.5. I really do love this movie. It would be a 9 if it wasn't for Elizabeth Banks' character.
Can I also
Really-
give another acknowledgement before we move on to
Go ahead.
whatchamacallit, the film? Did y'all ever see Wet Hot American Summer?
Yeah,
I
it's
actually
so good.
never have.
That film is so good with Paul Rudd. Like, if you ever need to see a really good early on Paul Rudd performance and the mastery he can do, I'm saying that word completely wrong. Watch that film because he is phenomenal in that film. Like, there's so many people in that film, and I know he appears in the the prequel and the sequel series that came out that goes with the property of Wet Hot American
Which
Summer.
are all pretty funny as well. I had a good time watching those.
There is.
They're good. The sequels. The sequel show.
I mean, they're not bad, but
Okay.
They're not
I like
bad,
the
but
first
they're-
half.
yeah.
The first
Yeah.
episode, I feel like the first one is stronger than the
First
sequel.
day of camp, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the first. There's a great scene where Jane how do you say it? Garfulo? Jane, but it's the camp counselor. Who plays Beth, And Paul Rudd plays this character named Andy, and Andy's like one of the people who's supposed to help around the camp. And she goes to Paul Rudd, "Can you go clean the kitchen or some dishes?" And Paul Rudd has the best temper tantrum I've ever seen, and it's so Paul
It's good.
Rudd. He goes all out. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. He's like a 2-year-old. It is so funny
I haven't even seen it, but I'm just laughing trying to picture it the way you're saying it.
because he's like in this like jean, like imagine like a bad boy, but Paul Rudd. He's got like jeans on, a black t-shirt, and a jean jacket. He's like the hot boy of the camp, and he's like, I don't want to do this, and he's always kissing Elizabeth Banks all the time, and it's great. And he just rides a motorcycle.
He's so funny in that movie.
It's so
That
good.
movie is a gem.
It's
I'm
a
adding
gem.
it
It's a
to the list
hidden
right
little
away.
gem, and he's so good in that film.
I
wanna
want to
say-
mention
You
Clueless
go
as well. Clueless,
Clueless is so good
Oh,
too.
that was his first ever movie.
One of his
and it
first.
doesn't show at all. Like he's really good in it.
I just found it out.
Um,
Yeah.
And he hasn't aged a day since then, which I think Kristin mentioned before, which is slightly worrying for the rest of us, but for him it's great. And like I mean, Sex with Your Brother aside, that
Yeah.
movie is really good.
It's a really fun movie, and then you get to the ending, and I turned to my I had it on with my parents, and I turned to my mom, and I was like, "Wasn't that kind of incest?" And she was like, "Yeah, I guess." But I want to say a couple of things about Paul Rudd before we go on to Ant-Man. First of all, there's this movie in which he plays a small character, 2 like supporting roles. First of all, in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, I loved him as a teacher. So if you haven't seen that movie, wonderful
Full
coming of age movie. Also, if you've never seen it, highly recommend Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Love that movie. He plays a surfer dude at the resort, and Jason Segel's like dealing with his really bad breakup, but she's at the same resort as him. She's played by Kristen Bell, and he's surfing with Paul Rudd, and he has this great line where he goes, "When life gives you lemons, just say fuck the lemons and bail." And that's just so iconic to me. And then last is a movie that's pretty underrated. I discovered it relatively lately. It's a Netflix movie, and it's called The Fundamentals of Caring. It's a little more like
Oh,
comedy
Selena Gomez is in
drama.
it.
You guys have all seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great movie. He's wonderful in it, and he has some great like dramatic moments too. I think it might actually be his best work.
Like from
I
acting
think
wise.
it is his best work, in like
Yeah.
my opinion as well. It's his best performance like ever.
Yeah, he's. If you haven't seen Fundamentals of Caring, great gem on Netflix. Only an hour and a half. No reason not to.
If you are a crying little bitch like me, you will cry. I cried twice
Mhm.
watching that movie.
Oh, and I have the picture too of Paul Rudd.
Let's see
I
it.
didn't get to meet him,
Great timing.
but this was the day I got to work with him, and he was doing like an interview, and he came on to talk to. I don't know if I should tell the other person because I don't have this other person's consent, but I figured it's Paul Rudd. He's makes himself publicly out there. I wanted to show it, but yeah, I couldn't get a picture with him, but it was great. He talked about a movie called The Catcher Was a Spy. So I didn't even watch that film yet, but
I saw the trailer. I've never seen it, but it looked like
no,
a good,
I haven't seen it either. I think it might be on Netflix though.
it looks like a good
He was
concept.
doing like promotion for that. Like there was like an advanced screening, and then like he did a pre-recorded Q&A. So I was there to take some photos and stuff.
And you did an interview. You did an interview lately with who was it? Florian Seller, which was so cool. I listened to a bit of it.
Yeah, that was an insane interview. I was so nervous for that. Like to be in the presence of like an Oscar winner, it's like a writer who's so like talented. It's like intimidating. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
what do you ask this man?
I'm also one of the only people who liked his newest movie, at least on the Filmstagram.
Yeah, on the film Instagram. That ending, if you watch that ending of The Sun, is like
I literally cried.
I still
That
haven't watched
ending
The
is
Sun.
like-
I really want to watch.
I
even though
understand
most
why people don't like it,
Yeah.
but The Father is a better film. I will say that, but The Sun is like that. The last bit of The Sun is just like, oh my gosh, that is just an emotion. That's emotional damage right there.
I will never forgive the father for stealing Chadwick Boseman's posthumous
The
Oscar.
Father, let me tell you, is so good, but I understand why.
I remember I rented The Father when it came out in digital because theaters were closed. And after it ended, my dad turned to me and said, "You just ruined my night. That movie was so sad."
Same. My parents and I just cried together. We're like, I don't want you to get like this. Don't ever get like this, please. Like, we're like,
Oh my god.
Speaking
like
of
we just had a
crying,
full family meltdown together while we just cried.
that sounds awful, but I love it.
But it's so good. Like my family and I loved that.
Amazing. Speaking of crying, Gal mentioned The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I don't know about you guys. I cried in that movie too.
Mhm.
Uh,
The book
and
is also really good. I loved the book. I read
I
that
read a
in high
bit of the
school.
book, and I like didn't
and
know that Paul Rudd was a teacher, but I knew that there was a teacher character because of the book. So when Paul Rudd
Mhm.
appeared, I was like, "Let's go!" Because
I knew about this movie when it was going into production. Like I followed it and I was like, I have to get this book. And I was like, I read it and then I knew about the casting and I was excited to hear Paul Rudd was going to be in it. I was like, oh, interesting. And then there was like all these other people that were going to star in it. I was like, this is going to be a movie. And then I had to rent it in the end because it was playing nowhere near me.
last thing,
no, it's a really
Ghostbusters
good movie. I
Afterlife
will tell you,
was great.
that is the best movie in my opinion that Paul Rudd is in. It's not the best
I get that.
Paul Rudd
Mhm.
movie, but it's the best movie Paul Rudd is in because he's
Maybe not Endgame though. Maybe not better than Endgame. Also, Ghostbusters Afterlife, he was a lot of fun in it. He does like some dancing in the end where he gets hypnotized.
Okay, so should we move on to Ant-Man?
Yeah.
yeah, we talked about things that we liked for too long.
Hmm.
Oh,
I love Ant-Man. I'm just going to put that out there.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. That's right. This came out. It's the third Ant-Man movie, as you know. The Van Dynes and the Pyms and the Langs are all stuck in the quantum realm, and they have to face a horrible threat, King the Conqueror, who may or may not destroy a bunch of timelines if he breaks free, not three, free. I can talk today. Kristin, I want to hear your take first.
Okay, let me just tell you. I like this movie more than a lot of the other MCU films that have been released. No, it's not as good as No Way Home, but I like it more than Thor Love and Thunder. I like it more than The Eternals. I like it more than what we've seen from Phase 4. Like, even though people have been saying, like, oh, this is a good introduction start, it is a good introduction start, but I liked the journey that we kind of went on. Like some of the stuff is not as perfect, but I really enjoyed like there was some fun that Peyton Reed was able to bring. Yes, it's not as perfect, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
I'm gonna be honest.
Go
I think
ahead,
I
Gal.
enjoyed it was a little more than this movie. None of the Phase 4 stuff was flat out bad to me. I liked most of it. This one, I just felt like it wasn't as charming as the other two Ant-Man movies. It wasn't as
Yeah.
witty. And when you have the wit in the, I don't love any of the Ant-Man movies, but I thoroughly
Oh, I
enjoyed
like
the
it.
first two because you have enough wit to match Paul Rudd's charisma and silliness, and the idea of a character who goes small. And when you have a movie called Quantumania, you should have a little more of that. But it kind of just felt like a standard like fish out of water adventure that was going through the motions. You know, you're stuck somewhere that you don't know. Felt like we had seen it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if you want to see me complain about this movie for an hour, you can go to to the League of Cinephiles channel. I recorded a live stream with them yesterday where all of us just chat on this movie for an hour. But
Oh no, I'm gonna be in like the minority. Just be like, yeah, I liked it a lot.
but
need
I will say, like, briefly, I had a lot of problems with the script of this movie. I think a lot of things didn't make sense or were very convenient or were over explained and in the end didn't make sense even though it was over explained. Um, I didn't like a lot of the CGI in the movie. Um, what else? I thought they kind of wasted Kang. What else? Uh, I'm gonna say some stuff that I like, so that people don't think I'm that negative. I love all the actors in this movie.
Mhm.
Like a lot of people are complaining about what's her name, Gal? Please help me out.
If people
Catherine
are
Catherine.
Newton.
complaining about Catherine Newton, that just means they're complaining about every new Marvel character. So I feel like
Yeah,
every
I thought she was fine. I
anticipating.
thought she was served her purpose. She's just a child. You know, Catherine Newton's like in her
Yeah.
mid-20s. She's supposed to serve as a young teenager and learning her ways. So I don't want to bog her character down too much. She has the same mentality as, you know, Hawk Girl. You know.
Look, she said, if you want to see an annoying Catherine Newton performance, watch Detective Pikachu. She was perfectly fine here.
Yeah, she was perfectly fine here.
I agree. But I think the best performance has to go to Michael Douglas, right?
Michael Douglas can do no wrong in the Ant-Man
Maybe in
films.
the
I just
first
love
movie.
that man in these films. Him and his
He
ants.
is so good in this.
He has fun with this film. Him and his ants. You can
He
never go
does.
wrong. He's like, I
He
love
has
ants.
a lot of fun.
I feel like he loves ants more than he loves his family. Look,
I mean, since we're talking about acting, I don't know if this is acting, but I hated MODOK. I wanted to get that Spy Kids looking motherfucker out of that scene and just threw it out the window.
I mean, I get it why MODOK was put in there because MODOK, I think, is like a cult favorite and is stupid in
But
general.
he's never in the MCU. He's never in the quantum.
He's never in
realm.
the
I don't
MCU.
know.
I get we had the Hulu series that came out like a while ago, then it got
Was
canceled.
it?
What?
Was it with Patton Oswalt? Who was?
Yeah, it
voicing-
was. And then I was like, my mouth literally dropped when I found out that Corey Stoll Darren was MODOK. Like they
So MODOK.
like he I was like not expecting that. My mouth literally dropped to the floor when I watched it the other day. And I was just like, what of this events has happened here?
The
It
background didn't
was
even
such
bother
a
me.
huge
It's just the
character
CGI of his
change.
fresh face that I just couldn't keep looking at it. Like
It doesn't
as
even
much
look like
as it
him.
has ten-
Exactly. It doesn't even look
It
like
just the face was so
It's so stretched
Yeah.
out. But my fiance really liked MODOK because he just thought it was stupid and like, you know, like entertainingly stupid. But like, I'm just like, why are we doing this? But I understand why. But it's just
And then he has an arc, which I thought was like too much.
I think he was in it too much. But I think he should have just stayed the Yellow Jacket and just been
Yep.
in the quantum media realm somewhere, but not here.
They could have just had Yellow Jacket with like a new arm or something. And
Yeah, I would agree to that. Like if Kang like maybe built his suit up a little bit more. Oh my god, look at that George Lopez.
George Lopez. Is that George Lopez?
That's what I saw.
What's the
I
first
saw
Spy
that
Kids?
for 2
That's
hours.
what I saw too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna have to talk to my fiance about that part too now.
But yeah, also speaking of who's in this movie too much, someone in the League of Cinephiles stream called her rip off Michelle Rodriguez from Dungeons and Dragons.
No.
Oh my god, she was so bad.
I just felt like she was in a different movie. Again, there are people who are way too harsh on the supporting characters in the Marvel movies. I just thought she was like too. I felt like she was.
It
in a
wasn't
different
her
movie.
fault. She shouldn't have been written into the movie. It was a
not-
stupid character.
I didn't mind her.
Like they try
like
to
she was,
introduce so much in these new Marvel movies that I don't understand. You have like such a good core cast of characters that it's already kind of too big with like 5 or 6 of the best actors in the world. Why are you like putting all this other stuff in here?
Mm-hmm.
She felt like she
Like-
was like on the Rings of Power set, and then she was like having fun with the Ant-Man cast. So she was like, okay,
this
be in
is
our movie.
mildly spoilerish, but when Kang doesn't kill her in the end, I was genuinely angry at him.
William Jackson Harper was good though.
Mm-hmm.
He was okay. That character was also pretty waste of time.
But I don't know if I want to spoil who voices him, but the Blob character I enjoyed.
The Blob, yes. I liked the Blob.
What's his name?
It's Polka Dot Man from
It's David Dastmalchian.
Yeah,
but I forget the blob's name.
I do
Um,
too. I forgot what it was. The character was called, but
I
I
guess
was
then
like,
I'm
"It's
just
not
too.
Batman!"
I'm too old then. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe that's what happened.
But what else did I really? Oh, I
Because I
wanted
didn't
to
care for
know.
him at all as well.
What did you guys think of Bill Murray?
Wasted also. He was
Yeah.
good while he was there.
I felt like he
Yeah.
just served this exposition that we didn't need. Like I wasn't like I was like excited to know what he was going to be there for, but he felt kind of useless to
Yeah.
the whole
He was there
story.
for
Like
5 seconds.
he
Don't
could
you
have
think it was
just
kind of overdone? Like the amount of times they were like, "He's coming. He's looking for you. He will destroy the world." Like building up the long explanation to the fact that King
I'd
is there.
always like my intentions was like Bill Murray and Kang were gonna do some kind of villainous stuff, but no. But like Kang, Bill Murray was like, "Yeah, I'm here because I spent some time with Michelle Pfeiffer." It reminded me of the Jeff Goldblum vibe from like what we got saw in Thor Ragnarok, but Jeff Goldblum was better in that. So
But they utilized him well. Like the
yeah, they did
Grandmaster
utilize
had
him.
real
Yeah,
purpose to-
or actually, the best way I could say it was like the way they did with Russell Crowe's character in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Even Russell Crowe was better though. Not gonna
No,
lie.
I will take Bill. Yeah,
No,
okay,
they were both not great.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Even
I'm
though
gonna agree with
I
that one
love
then.
them as actors, but like
Yeah.
they were both not great. I will I will say one thing. I said that yesterday also in the stream. There was a rumor, which I guess wasn't even a rumor, that he was gonna play Modok, and that would have been so much better.
Who was that? Bill Murray?
Yeah,
I could see that. I would have liked that, but
yeah.
then he probably would have gotten the vibes of like, when he was like in Garfield, like he was doing stupid projects for a short time. You're like, I'm not doing this down. I'm not going down this road again. No, no.
You know how in Zombieland 2 they have like the behind the scenes of him doing an interview for like a fictional Garfield sequel? So they
Yeah.
did Zombieland 3. It's like for Quantumania.
Oh no.
Like the zombies come during the Quantumania interview.
Oh no.
But what I was gonna
Oh.
say is, oh my god,
No,
that should have been
this-
Bill Murray's face. Nah, but what I was gonna say is about Kang. I felt like when he comes, who's editing? First of all, Jonathan Majors, great.
Mhm.
Whether it's this movie or any other movie, always great. And I felt like even though he has like this chaotic energy to him, like they're almost, I know Alan's complaining about exposition, but the one thing is they really just didn't, like the stakes were so vague, like why he was gonna go out and destroy timelines or like mess it up. Like why was this war, like where was his head at besides I'm bad? I don't know. Even though the
They
performance
exposed
was
so
great.
much, like it's so much exposition, but they don't explain you the main conflict of
Exactly.
the movie well enough.
Exactly.
So it boggles my mind, this movie.
I think that's where those post-credit scenes come in. What we get with those two, and I think what we get, like, am I allowed to mention some of the second?
Let's go into spoilers, but fuck
Okay.
it.
So what I think we're gonna get more of that in Loki season 2.
I agree, but that first post-credit scene made me want to hate myself so much that I'm not excited anymore.
Oh
Because
no.
that
It was
they
cool.
were all those Kangs were all so silly and so stupid, and now I'm thinking they're gonna be the big baddies for like the
I
Avengers.
don't know.
Well, there's different
It's just-
Kang
and I hate
variants,
it.
and we just have to figure out which one is the best one out of all of them and the most.
I don't know if
powerful.
Kang's
They just killed off the best one, in my opinion.
I don't know if
So
he's
good.
done though. Like it seems too easy, especially after like they set him up for 2 years now. I feel like the fans would be too mad. Also, I liked him the best, but I kind of like that they're also setting up the King Dynasty to be at
The
least
Kang Dynasty.
to be a little campier or a little like more out there at least than Infinity War.
Gal,
Because it's the
no,
multiverse.
bad gal, bad gal. Do you have like the sprays for cats? Bad
Mm.
gal. No campy, no funny. We're done with it.
Kristin, what do you think?
I like a little bit of camp, but I
You're
like a
going back, huh?
little bit of like serious tone. So if they can combine that, then I think we'll be good. I think they just have to stay focused. I think is to get to the end. So who knows how it's gonna be like? But I'm interested.
like at the end of the day, like funny, serious is less important than good movie, good execution, good writing.
Yeah.
It's most important.
Yeah, that's what I say in the end. As long as you got us to the end with, some good direction and, you got to, you did the story map, the 3-story archer thing, what we all learned in film school, then you did it. You did your job, I think. So, and if you kept us entertained, then that's what you did. That's what I like to
Yeah.
see film as.
I was like I think that's the biggest problem of this movie. I feel like the stakes are so high, and in the end of the day, there are no stakes at all. Like basically nobody dies. Like there's no consequences at all from this movie, technically.
Except
Even though
Modog, unless you want to talk about that Modog dying.
I mean, I'm glad he's dead, but that's a whole other thing.
He was quote dead before presumably, but like
Yep.
the movie even starts and ends with like the same sort of montage.
But like,
So I kind
why
of felt like nothing had happened.
why didn't Paul Rudd die in that? Like, I love Paul Rudd and I love Ant-Man, but like that, like, he was set up so perfectly for him to die, thinking he was gonna save the universe, and then to have that slap on your face that he didn't. That would have been such an amazing ending, and like heart wrenching and serious. And the MCU just doesn't go there anymore. They went once with Endgame, and now they don't care about serious stakes.
It's because they see all the fans are like, when does Robert Downey Jr. come back? And they're scared of the backlash.
I don't want any of these characters that died in Endgame to come back, because then
Me neither.
what was the whole point then of Endgame when that was the whole setup,
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's what I mean. They're not taking it seriously anymore. They're like just they think they're giving and maybe they are giving like the ultra Marvel fans what they want, and then, like just
The
feeding
ultra
them.
Reddit Marvel fans.
Yeah, and that's it. Because they're probably no, you're not gonna kill Ant-Man off so we can have like a Groby Ant-Man now. But yeah, you probably should have done that.
I feel like it would have ended better with like Cassie as the main, like she kind of like suits up at the end to honor her dad. That could have been a good ending.
Mhm.
Exactly. Instead of a stupid fake birthday on a restaurant, like what?
Did y'all order his book?
I really
Um,
want to. I want.
I
to.
did.
Oh my
I got it
God.
right away when it was announced.
Wait, you're serious? Is it actually
yes.
out? Oh
Yeah, it's
yeah,
coming
they
out.
released it for real.
Yeah.
It's coming out in September.
Okay, I want to read that.
Yeah,
Everyone-
I got it.
Oh, maybe
I ordered
maybe
it.
I'll get it for my birthday.
Hey, treat yourself.
Kang Dynasty, who cares? Look out for the little guy. Read that thing right away.
I love the fake memoir. I'm gonna read it.
So we end on a good note. The second post-credit scene I liked, even though yesterday someone pointed out that he was playing Frederick Douglass, and
So
that kind of
Frederick
killed me.
I just love
But
how outfit teenagers is getting with this role.
I think it was Guy that that pointed that out, and it destroyed my soul. But that seems like a fun setup for Loki season 2. And I would have cared more if the Marvelites in our theater stopped like screaming for a second so I could hear what they were actually. But whatever.
It's horrible. Like if Tom Hiddleston actually walked into the room, I'll be like, oh shit! But it's just a person on a screen. So like, take a deep breath, bro.
I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I never did this because I did this a lot, especially like
I've done it before, but like a
Infinity
little
War
clap
and
is cool.
Endgame.
Like clap a
But
little
now,
bit. That's
but
great.
now it's not good enough for you to do that. Back then it was pretty good. Now it's not a movie that's good enough for you to clap. I'm sorry,
Oh,
it's just not.
my theater
I-
clapped
I-
yesterday.
Or
You
maybe
can
I'm just
clap
old.
even, just like gotta hear what they're saying.
I think with like every week in this podcast we just find out how old I am and how life is just draining from my eyes.
Oh no.
But yeah, this one was okay. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to say as far as I enjoyed it the least out of anything post Endgame. Not worse than She-Hulk, but it's still like a middle of the road movie. Someone put it on, it would be like fine in the background, except a
Mhm.
couple lines towards the end, a couple like cringy dialogue lines. It was
Yeah.
just fine. I
This
still
movie
think
it's not worse than Thor and She-Hulk, but that's really not a high bar to cross.
I thought
I
Thor
think
was
it's better. I think it's better than Miss Marvel. I think it's better than She-Hulk. I think it's better than Thor: Love and Thunder. I think it's better than Eternals. I think it's better than.
I thought Miss Marvel was a lot better.
Miss Marvel was good. Miss Marvel was better, I think. But The other ones were not great, but like even Eternals, I think was better. I watched it on a plane, and I had a better time than watching this movie on an actual movie theater. So
Even
there you go.
Eternals had more redeeming qualities. Again, it's a fine movie, but slightly disappointing, especially because I came out positive from the previous Ant-Man movie.
It was an okay time. Do you guys want to do scores?
Sure.
Do you want me to start so we can finish on a high
Sure,
note?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start with mine. This movie was as mediocre, guys.
Oh,
5.5.
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 because like I said, I'm an Ant-Man girl. I love Paul Rudd. I enjoyed the ride. I love Anthony,
Rip
Antony, whatever.
Anthony,
Oh, I
Rest
missed
in peace,
Anthony.
Antonio
Tony.
Banderas.
Love those ants. Love Michael Douglas. Love Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm all here for Catherine Newton starring in her new MCU phase, whatever. I had fun, but forget MODOK. Yeah, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. It was very middle of the road in the execution. Some of the visuals didn't work. The cast did their best. Some of the jokes hit, and some of the action just kind of felt like devoid of the energy and the cleverness that was needed to be a great movie.
Yeah, I'll say one thing because Kristen said she's an Ant-Man girl. I am an Ant-Man guy as well, and I love the first one. The second one
Me
was okay,
too.
but I love the first one so much. It's one of my favorite MCU movies. So
Yeah, same. I love it.
you know, it's like in my
I
top
second one,
15
actually.
MCU movies. Uh, but that's one of the biggest problems with this movie, in my opinion. They went too big with an Ant-Man movie. Ant-Man movies work better when it's Scott and he has to steal something, and that's it. And like you just throw all the comedy and all the character development and all that surrounding like that simple stuff.
I know there was this whole talk and controversy. Remember when Edgar Wright was supposed to direct Ant-Man and then he fell
Movie was
off?
so good.
There was like this whole big
Still
controversy that surrounded him and Disney and everything going on. Do you think there's still a chance where maybe Edgar Wright could come in and maybe fix some Ant-Man material, or
I don't think
no?
so, because I think he had the experience where he was like, Marvel didn't want to do an Edgar Wright movie, which is what he said. I think now
Mhm.
he's thriving with stuff like Last Night in Soho and Baby Driver,
I
where
love
he
Baby
gets
Driver.
Final Cut privilege.
So good.
Yeah.
Baby Driver.
And love those movies, by the way. He's one of my
Mhm.
favorites. So he gets to do
He's
his
one
own
of my
thing.
favorites too.
He gets
Same.
to like the studios have faith for him for his name rather than for a property that was existing and needs to tie into 12 more movies after
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, if he didn't do it to tie into phase one, I doubt he would do it to tie into this whole mess that's happening right now.
Right. Okay. I just wanted because I'm a huge Edgar Wright
But
fan,
I would
and I
love
wanted
to.
to.
I would love to.
I would
If
love to
Marvel
see him
was like,
direct some
here's your
kind of
money, go
superhero film.
lose, maybe he would come back.
Yeah.
Do you think there would be a chance, since him and James Gunn are like tight? Do you think he could do a DC movie?
That's a higher chance than a Marvel movie.
Okay.
If they let him go
Because
loose, like the way the Suicide Squad gave him creative freedom.
Yeah, because James Gunn is at the helm and he said already he's giving the creators the freedom. So I think that's a better shot of that happening.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get you guys' opinion. I was just wondering. Sorry.
And I would love either way. Like whatever Edgar Wright does, I'm there.
Yeah,
If he
same.
did it, I'd be down. I just don't know how much he wants to do like IP movies right now.
Yeah.
Can you tell people what's your podcast called? What's your Insta?
Yeah, it is the M&K Productions podcast. I co-hosted with one of my best friends, Mac. So shout out to Mac. Hey, Mac. We are actually going to talk Ant-Man in our next episode, but with our friend Darren, from Darren Movie Reviews. So yeah, we do all sorts of different unique episodes. Sometimes we get celeb interviews. Sometimes we get to review some unique stuff. Like we just reviewed a Jonathan Ray Myers film called Disquiet from Paramount that they sent over to us. So we get to do some fun stuff from time to time, and then I get to do some stuff from time to time as on my side hustle from time. Like I said, from time to time. And yeah, so if you want to go check out the M&K Productions podcast, you can check that out. I'm also a member of the League of Cinephiles,
Okay, guys, you can find us at, there you go, Film Fanatics Pod on Instagram, TikTok, even though we don't really post on TikTok anymore. Sorry. But the main thing is that you can do is you can subscribe to our channel, which is where you're probably watching right now. Give a like. Tell us your favorite Paul Rudd performance in the comments. And yeah, Gal, where can people find you?
Film toppings, and of course, our content you already know is on Film Fanatics Pod. Hit us with that sub, and stay tuned for content from all three of us.
For sure. Excited for that Oscar coverage that's coming up. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Film Fanatics. From the silver screen to your earphones with Alan Azulay and Gal Balaban.